it's sort of shocking that I think there's something like 428 federal agencies. That's almost 2 agencies per year since the founding of the country, and more being created. And so I call this like sort of strangulation by overregulation. And this is crazy. So I think with the Trump presidency, we have a real opportunity to reduce the size of government, to have a sensible regulation, and really free the American people to do what they want to do. So, I mean, the reason that I'm doing this is because I really think we're at a fork in the road of destiny, and this election is an absolutely crucial one. I've not been politically active before, and I'm politically active now because every instinct that I have tells me that this is a fork in the road of destiny. Well, I'm very much encouraged by the enthusiasm that I see. Obviously, in the crowd tonight is incredible energy and enthusiasm. It's like, it's heartening. It's really heartening. It encourages me because sometimes I wonder, is there enthusiasm? Is there energy to make things happen? Because sometimes, like our biggest issue is often apathy. Is that if the people that could vote just actually voted, then Trump would win for sure. So a lot of it is I think convincing people who sometimes feel like the vote doesn't matter or it's all rigged or whatever, that actually the vote does matter. And if there's any election in their lifetime that they're going to vote, they should vote in this one. This one, it really is a big deal. And I've had many conversations with President Trump, who is very much aligned in thinking that we need significant government reform. We need to get the government out of people's lives, really. And have America be the land of liberty, which is that is what has made America great, is the land of liberty and opportunity. So you maximize people's personal freedom, and we make sure that getting ahead is a function of hard work and talent, and an honest day's work. That's really what should get people ahead, and that's the only thing, So it was really just that I wanted to do something that was as useful as possible. I wanted to be as useful as possible. That was it, really. So I didn't even really actually originally intend to even start a company. I tried to get a job at Netscape after graduating from Penn. And Mark Andreessen's a friend of mine, but they didn't respond to my resume that I mailed in. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try writing software myself. I've been writing software since I was a kid, so I'll write some internet software and see if I can do some useful applications on the internet. And I ended up sort of writing the first maps and directions and yellow pages and white pages on the internet back in '95. And that it was just really because nobody would give me a job on the internet. So that was it. If they'd given me a job, I guess I would have just worked at Netscape or something. But my best advice really is just like, try to do an honest day's work and try to be as useful as possible to your fellow human beings. Try to give more than you take. And I just have a lot of respect for people who do an honest day's work, That's what really matters. So. I mean, what I see is that there's like a tremendous amount of propaganda being pushed on kids in schools, and I think it's just messing with kids' heads. I mean, anyone that goes through puberty, it's going to be an identity crisis. Going through puberty, like it's normal, kind of, to have an identity crisis, really. And I think we should tell kids like, if you're confused, that's okay. It's like it's coming of age, We shouldn't like steer them in a particular direction or convince them of something that they're not. It's okay to go through an identity crisis. Everyone does. But I think what I see in schools is that they tend to send kids down paths that they wouldn't actually go down because they're being pushed down that way by the teachers, and by the propaganda that's pushed in the schools. So I think we need to tell kids it's okay to live with uncertainty, that it's normal to have uncertainty, and it'll settle down over time, and and don't make any permanent decisions, like decisions that can't be reversed. So I think we definitely should not have any sort of sterilization of kids, below 18. That's no good. That there's an age of consent for a reason, and we don't let kids get tattoos until they're 18, and we don't, alcohol is technically illegal until 21, although that's often observed in the breach. But we just want people to not make decisions when they're young that make them unhappy as an adult. That's really what it comes down to. And I think you want to say we want to optimize for people's long-term happiness. But that means making sure, like I said, that there are no irreversible changes during a kid when a kid has an identity crisis, which every kid has, and that's totally cool. Kamala is really she's just a puppet, frankly. I mean, if the teleprompter breaks, doesn't know what to say. So I just call it the machine, the kind of big government machine, essentially. And you sort of have a face on the big government machine, and when the Biden puppet was not working out, they sort of got a new puppet. But it's still the same machine, obviously, and it's extremely undemocratic what was done. It's bizarre and hypocritical to claim that Trump is somehow a danger to democracy when what happened with Biden being removed as the candidate was incredibly undemocratic. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. But there's clearly a strong push for censorship under the guise of fighting disinformation. But really, disinformation is a propaganda word. It's not well, who's going to decide what's disinformation? The government? That's crazy, So that's yeah. So I think we'll see. This is this is why we have this petition in support of freedom of speech and right to bear arms. Is that it's under siege. It's being attacked. But really, we should have the free marketplace of ideas. People can propose an idea. They can, the people can discuss an idea, and they can make a statement. People can rebut that. You can have this sort of the people can decide. And I think it's far better for information to sort of bubble up from the voice of the people than to be decided by a handful of editors-in-chiefs of newspapers. That's, yeah. I mean, the sort of the biggest point of manipulation that occurs in the media is not when the media says something that's false or misleading, but because they do that, but their choice of narrative. What are they going to talk about? Is that's by choosing to focus on one thing and not focus on another thing, that they're sort of steering what information the public receives. Whereas I think the right thing is that the narratives that are important should be the narratives that the people as a whole think are important, not what a few media oligarchs think is important. So, yeah, but they sure like controlling information. So I think if the Kamala machine wins, then we'll see. I think severe censorship is what's going to happen, and that's why I think this is the last election. Yeah. A lot of the things I say, I feel like I'm just stating the obvious, but sometimes the obvious isn't what happens, or is that if America is not strong, if the West is not strong, then nothing else matters. the companies that I run, they don't matter. Like basically, if like America is the central pole holding up the tent that is Western civilization, and if that pole fails, nothing else matters. So nothing else matters. So I've tried to encourage a lot of people in business and technology to say like, hey, you just got to think long term. You don't even need to be altruistic. You just got to think long term and say, if America fails, what good is your business? It doesn't matter. So America must be strong, and the central pole that holds up the tent of Western civilization must be firm as an oak. So.